So Sheila Battle is gonna come up, and I've actually seen Sheila at different events in Richmond because Richmond is like, it's a mid-sized city, but it's also kind of like a small town. And especially like within the faith-based kind of community, it's a very small Richmond. So I've seen Sheila just at different events. Her presence is commanding. She's beautiful, gorgeous. And I'm always just like, look at this woman of God here, carrying the mantle of God's anointing. I don't know how I know that, but it just feels very true. And then I heard her pray earlier today, and I said, this woman talks to God on a regular basis. She knows Jesus' middle name. So I'm really looking forward to hearing her come and speak to us. So Sheila is also a heavily degreed woman. She has a master's degree in human services. She's the creator of Soul Care Curriculum, which is it includes a diverse selection of exercises and tools that integrate the natural flow of real life. And she's had 28 years of progressive leadership experience in both the public and the private sector. So this woman knows what she is talking about when she is speaking. She is the wife of one and the mother of two. And when asked if you were independently wealthy, what would you do with your time? She said she would get her doctorate. Now I said, why? If you're independently wealthy, why would you go to get more school? But in her bio, she says that she's a lifelong learner, and that type of response shows that she means that to the core, because school is terrible. So welcome Sheila Battle. Greet her as she comes.
It's okay with everybody in the room. I'm going to stay down here. When you are 6 feet tall, you don't need to be the giant purple lady standing up on the stage. Hi. Before I get started, I just want to look at you. I've been praying for you for weeks. So I just want to see you and not watch you, because we've been watching each other on these screens. I just want to look at you, just want to see you. Appreciate what it took for you to come. Thankful that the cat didn't die and the dog didn't bite anybody and your car started. And that you don't have on a blue shoe and a black shoe. There are some people in this room, I know that it took a lot just to get up. So I appreciate the fact that you came. I hate bios. They're hard to write. They're hard to hear. I hate them. And one of the reasons why, well, hate is a strong word. I dislike them a lot. And one of the reasons why is because the bio is the highlight reel. The bio doesn't tell you about the fear and the failure and the deep losses. Loss is such an integral part of my story that there's no way that I could stand here and not address the pain that came with you. Pain about your families, pain about your jobs, pain about your children, pain about the planet. On June 15th, 1995, my sister, my most fierce protector, was murdered less than a mile from where we're sitting. June 18th, 2016, her son, my nephew, was murdered on Southside. Our family lives with 2 cold case homicides in Richmond. You can't see that looking at me, can you? You don't hear that in the bio. In the midst of all of that happening, I was a victim of professional homicide 3 times. You know what that means? I got fired 3 times. From jobs that I loved, from jobs where I thought I was destined to be. Jobs where I was penalized for doing the right thing. So for those of you who work jobs and you battle with the moral temperature of where you work, I encourage you to do the right thing, even if the right thing isn't being done. The reason that you can and you should is because grace will keep you. That's why I can talk about grace under fire. So whether it's personal or whether it's professional, I promise that God doesn't love me more than he loves you. And if I can stand here and talk about murder and mayhem with my right mind, with a smile, with sincere gratitude in my heart for this journey, you can make it. You can make it, sis. You can make it. Now, I was supposed to prepare a PowerPoint and have a clicker probably, but that's just not how I flow. So we're going to see where this goes. I'm a lover of soulful conversations. And so that's what I want this to feel like, is a soulful conversation. I think it's important also to note that in the midst of all of the trouble, toil, and bubble, that this theme of grace became the thread that wove all of these experiences together. When I didn't have the words, when I didn't have the wisdom, when I didn't have the know-how, I had grace. And it was grace that taught me how to handle and manage my emotional well-being when I couldn't even wrap words around how I was feeling. It's hard when you are a high-profile leader in an organization and you're sitting in meetings and you know this is not going to end well. As Aaron said, if I don't know how to do anything else, I know how to pray. And I remember sitting in meetings and I couldn't even pay attention to what they were saying. All I could do was pray, was ask for wisdom to fall in the room. Ask for God to send the right person with the right words to say the right thing at the right time so that something about this situation would change. Some of you are in families, and I pray that none of you have to experience the tragedies that my family has faced. But some of you are struggling with family members who are in stages of addiction, marriages that are barely being held together, in-laws and outlaws, cussing cousins. Some of y'all got some cussing cousins, right? Cussing cousins and folks who are just in turmoil. These last 18 months has shown us who we are. And so I'm an opponent of this idea of creating sacred space in your day where you do not judge, condemn, or compare yourself to anybody else. And I know you heard some of that. Could you take 15 minutes and not judge yourself harshly? Could you take 15 minutes and not compare yourself to the 15 people you just scrolled past on Instagram or Facebook? Could you do that? Could you try to do it? I was having a conversation with Jordan when we were making the videos, and I hope you guys enjoyed those videos that came out before this event. And I'm big on these two prayers every day. I talk for a living. So the first thing I say when I open my eyes in the morning is, Lord, set a guard over my mouth so that I don't sin against you and embarrass myself. That's the first thing I pray every day. And then I do something that I want you all to do. Take your right hand and put it over your heart. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. Press your fingertips in so you can feel the rhythm of your own heartbeat. You feel that? It's power. It's a reminder that you're powerful. So every day I put my hand over my heart. I press in so that I can feel my own heartbeat, and I say, God, what is mine to do? Just show me what's mine to do. There's a lot to do. Don't get me wrong. There is a lot to do. But all of it is not yours to do. What if in the middle of the meeting, on Zoom or otherwise, you closed your eyes for 30 seconds and said, what is mine to do in this moment? If you see loved ones at odds, before you jump in and save the day with your flapping cape, say, wait, is this mine to do? Before you decide that you're the answer, can you ask yourself, is this mine to do? I believe in purpose. I believe your feet are firmly planted in purpose. But I also believe that as unique as your fingerprint is, so is the plan for your life. So the reason that I want to get a doctorate is because I liked being a professor. I was a professor for a good 10 minutes, and I loved it. It was a bucket list thing. So I know that you all have reflections and all of that stuff, but I'm going to give you some homework. So the first assignment I want to give you is that for the next 7 days that you would do 15 minutes of grace, that you would set this time aside for 15 minutes. No Bibles, no worship music, you alone with you for 15 minutes. Just for 7 days, just for 7 days. The second thing that I want you to do is throughout these next 7 days, give yourself that check-in test. Is this mine to do? And if it's not, gracefully bow out because you can. The third thing that I want you to do is let yourself be okay with not being okay. We're so quick to want to fix. And it's okay to say, you know what? I'm not okay. It's not okay to stay in that place, but it is okay to admit when you are in that place. Just say, I'm not okay today. Because what I find is that when we can say it, people give us grace. Now, the kids still want the peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And those of us with significant others still want us to, And yet, it's okay to say, I'm not okay. In those 15 minutes of grace, I want you to explore the language that comes to you so that you can learn how to say what you need. Whether that's at work, at church, in the community, or in your home. Often we are frustrated as women because we're not getting what we need, but we don't effectively wrap language around what we need either. How different could your life be in 30 days if you explored your own emotional interior and gave yourself some language? And you can test it out. You go up to somebody and you say, hey, how you doing? And they say, fine. Well, fine is not a feeling. Fine is not a feeling. We're so used to using language that doesn't really say what we mean that we just habitually say it. Because when I ask how you're doing, I really want to know, sis. I really want to know. So we got 15 minutes of grace. It's okay not to be okay. What also, if we took some time, and I do a lot of this work with men and women, but particularly with women, because we're famous for having girlfriends, but we're not famous for identifying our Trinity and our tribe. Who is your Trinity? Let me tell you what I mean. If Jesus had Peter, James, and John, who is your Trinity? Who is your Peter, James, and John? Who are the people who influence you, who have influence with you? Who are the people that you have gifted with a seat of influence to speak into your life, to say the hard things, to remind you that it's okay to say, you're not okay? And then tribe, Jesus had 12. Who sits at the table of your life? Who are those people? What do they do? Where do they sit? Why are they there? How do they contribute to your life? And how do you reciprocate? And this is a good exercise to do personally and professionally, because you don't need to have coffee to have a mentor. You can be mentored from afar. Case in point, I met Jennifer 30 years ago. And she probably would never remember this, but I was in an elevator with her. And she was having a conversation, and I was trying not to be nosy. And there was something about the calm in her voice. I knew that what they were talking about was something challenging, but there was something about the peace in her voice that caught my attention. And right then, I said, she's my mentor. I never had coffee with her. I never sat down with her. I didn't bother her and send her 10 emails asking when could we get together. But every time I saw her, I watched. I paid attention. So some of these things that we think we have to do in order to get that type of relationship with someone, we can be a little more creative, and COVID has proven that, right? YouTube University should give out degrees. We learn how to strip furniture, cook a quiche. We've been to museums all around the world, sitting on YouTube. I promise there's a person on the planet who already knows what you're trying to figure out. And if you would silence yourself enough so that you can hear the voice of that person, you would find them and they would find you. The funny thing about getting fired 3 times is that it leaves an opportunity to be impacted by rejection in a way that's not healthy. 15 minutes of grace helped me with that. When I thought I was alone and lonely, 15 minutes of grace helped me identify who's my tribe and who's my Trinity. Who are these people who sit at the table of my life, and do I acknowledge their presence? Because some of us are running around looking for mentors, and your girlfriend could get you straight. You know, the one that actually can see your real life, not the one you post. You know? A girlfriend of mine, I heard her preach Sunday, and she was talking about how every year God gives her one word. Y'all know about this one word at the beginning of the year? And her word was expect. I said, oh, I'm going to borrow that. What are you still expecting despite the pandemic, despite loss of jobs, despite death and loss, despite a groaning planet? What are you still expecting? And if you don't know, go into silence. Step into 15 minutes of grace so that you can get a resurge on what it is your heart desires most. What are you expecting? The word I'm carrying into 2022 is recover. And that's my prayer for each of you. Ladies, there's enough power in this room to recover Richmond for God. There is enough wisdom in this room to help our young people not just survive, but thrive. There's enough money in this room to pay off every lunch debt at every public school in Richmond City. Who are we waiting for? Who are we waiting for? Whether you are a person of faith, a person of a different faith, or have no faith confession at all, when I asked you to put your hand over your heart, that power that's keeping your heart beating is enough to let me know that there's something left that is yours to do. If you wake up tomorrow, there is something that is yours to do. And for some of you, it is that shift from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. Because after I got fired the third time, I gave up. I said, you know, I mean, who gets fired 3 times? And then I got fired twice from the same job. It's got to be a record. Who gets fired from the same job twice? And when I got fired that last time, my daughter said, she was 6 at the time, she said, you know, Mommy, I noticed something. I said, well, what's going on, baby girl? She said, you come home sad every day. She was 6. I said, well, baby girl, I'm going to work on that. Mommy is going to work on that. I'm going to work on that. She said, well, you don't have to because you're going to get fired. I said, well, if I'm the one sad, why I'm getting fired? Why am I the one getting fired? She said, because you should have never took that job in the first place. She was 6, and she could not have been more right. I knew that God was calling me out of the marketplace and into entrepreneurship, and all I kept saying was, well, who's going to pay the light bill? Who's going to feed all of these people who come to the battle station? My last name is Battle. My house is affectionately referred to as the battle station. And my house is open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to my community, post-pandemic and pre-pandemic. If there's a need in my community, people knock on my door. And so 2 people who sit at the table of my life are sitting over there, Marty and Kelly, and Holly is over there, and they can tell you, I probably spend $2,000 a month in Sam's Club feeding people who come to our house. And so when the Lord was like, okay, you just won't get out. You just won't get out. You're fired. Okay, I'm gonna go back and get another job. Okay, you just won't get out. You just won't get out. So then I got fired again. I mean, it was so ridiculous, and you're laughing, but some of you have had the same experiences. You know that V8 commercial where they hit you in the head with the frying pan? The Holy Spirit's been hitting you in the head with the frying pan, hitting you in the head with the frying pan, but you are so comfortable in the trouble that you know that getting out of that boat and trying to walk on some water sounds pretty scary. But I live with water walkers, and I can tell you none of us have drowned. I can tell you I've been fired 3 times, but I don't smell like smoke. You can make it. And whatever this shift in season is for you, I pray you yield to it. That you would stop being addicted to busy long enough to get somewhere and sit your whole self down. My auntie used to say that. That's not good grammar, but it sure is good. She used to say, get somewhere and sit your whole self down. So what does that mean for me at 50? Sit the hot flashes down. Sit my confusion and brain fog down. Sit it all down. And make a decision to intentionally be in the presence of God with no strings attached. I don't come into 15 minutes of grace begging, pleading, asking, crying for things. It is specifically so I can sit and listen to get the answer to a prayer I already prayed. So that I can hear what my next best step is. And most of all, so that I can hear what is mine to do. I hope that this is not just another conference for you. I hope that you feel convicted enough and that you feel encouraged enough to make a step that's for your best good. I'm clear that whatever God's plan for you is, that it's good. I know it's been rough, but his plan is still good. And just in case you were confused, his plan is still the plan, not yours. His plan is still the plan, not yours. And that's okay. I'm going to keep praying for you all for the next 30 days, because that's what I do. And I hope that this committee and everybody who was connected to this event gets flooded with emails, phone calls, and text messages about what you heard in the silence, because it's waiting for you. It's waiting for you. God bless y'all.